Before smartphones, a single phone anchored every home. Calls routed by operators, every conversation shared by the whole family. Life seemed slower, but our days were shaped by real voices, handwritten notes, and gathered faces. When silence filled the kitchen wall, something priceless faded away. But what did we lose? And why does that feeling still echo today? A phone call once began not with a tap or a swipe, but with a quiet request. In towns big and small, a switchboard operator sat at the heart of every call, hands moving over cords and plugs, voice steady and familiar. In the early mornings or late at night, her greeting, sometimes by name, was the first sound on the line. She knew the voices, the stories, the patterns of each household. One operator in Iowa remembered how she could recognize a neighbor's laugh before a word was spoken, or sense worry in the pause after a simple hello. In rural America, party lines connected several families to a single circuit. Each home had its own ring, 2 shorts and a long, or maybe 3 quick bursts. But anyone could pick up and listen, and sometimes did. Secrets traveled fast, but so did news and comfort. A birth, an emergency, even a recipe for pie, these moments moved across the wires, shared by all who happened to lift the receiver. Privacy was a dance, not a guarantee. People learned to stretch the curly cord around a corner or whisper from the hallway, hoping for a little space. Still, the phone was never truly private. Even in cities, one phone meant messages were relayed, calls were passed from hand to hand, and a conversation might include a parent's gentle reminder that someone else was waiting. For the operators, each day meant connecting neighbors, reuniting families, and sometimes listening in silence to the heartbreak or joy on the other end. When direct dialing came in the late 70s, many operators hung up their headsets for the last time, feeling both relief and a quiet sadness. The voices they once connected now traveled alone. The silent switchboard left behind as a memory of a more communal world. A kitchen table often held more than a bowl of fruit or stack of bills. This was the headquarters for daily life, where a thick phone book waited within reach, its pages creased and corners bent from years of use. Every name and number was a lifeline. Friends, doctors, the local pizza place, memorized by heart or scribbled on slips of paper tucked between the pages. A notepad and a stub of pencil sat close by, ready for messages like, "Call Dad back at 7," or "Sally from church needs a ride." These handwritten reminders, taped to the fridge or pinned by the phone, were the original notifications, delivered in a familiar scrawl, never with a chime. By the late 1970s, a new sound joined the household chorus, the whir and click of the answering machine. The first models, boxy and proud, recorded voices on tiny reels or cassettes. It felt like magic, leaving a message for someone who was not home, hearing a loved one's voice hours after they called. Families gathered to listen together, replaying a joke from Uncle Joe or a birthday wish from a friend across town. The blinking light of a new message brought a small thrill, a sign that someone had reached out, even when you missed the call. Entertainment meant gathering around a single point. Radios and record players filled the living room, their dials and switches worn smooth. At night, music drifted from a spinning LP, or a favorite program crackled from the radio, drawing everyone in. Shared devices shaped the rhythm of the day, choosing a record, waiting for a favorite song, or pausing to hear the news as a family. Each object was a piece of the household's choreography, connecting people not just to the outside world, but to each other. A family road trip in the 70s began with a stack of maps, not a glowing screen. The glove box held a well-worn atlas, its corners soft, pages marked with ballpoint notes and coffee stains. Before the car even left the driveway, someone, often a parent or the oldest child, pored over a folded AAA triptych, flipping its 3-panel pages to trace the route from home to vacation. Each turn, exit, and rest stop was mapped out in advance, with the navigator calling out directions as the miles rolled by. Getting lost was part of the adventure, sometimes leading to unexpected diners or odd roadside attractions. The ritual of stopping at a gas station for a free map or spreading one across the hood of the car brought everyone together. Arguments over which turn to take or who got to hold the triptych became family lore. Evenings at home followed their own choreography. The television, often the only set in the house, anchored the living room. Families gathered at a set time, not because they chose the hour, but because the network did. Schedules were fixed. Prime time meant everyone tuned in for the same show, week after week. Children rushed through homework to catch their favorite program. Parents claimed the best chair for the news or a movie special. There was no pausing, no rewinding, no watching alone in another room. The glow of the screen, the laughter or hush of the audience, and the shared anticipation of a season finale became a quiet bond. In these moments, navigation and entertainment were communal acts shaped by planning, patience, and the simple joy of being together. Out on the street, summer afternoons carried their own music. The faint jingle of coins in a pocket, the distant melody of an ice cream truck weaving through blocks, and the steady thump of a basketball on cracked pavement. Neighbors gathered on stoops, sharing news and laughter as children darted between yards, their voices mixing with the sounds of passing cars and the bark of a dog. At the corner grocery, transactions unfolded in a quiet rhythm. Nickels, dimes, and quarters slid across worn counters, brown paper bags filled with produce, and a handwritten receipt tucked under a loaf of bread. Cashiers remembered faces, not pins, and a forgotten dollar meant a promise to pay next time. Music drifted from open windows or the portable cassette player clipped to a belt. After 1979, the Walkman turned sidewalks into private concerts, each mixtape a personal soundtrack built from songs recorded from the radio or borrowed albums. Friends traded cassettes, rewinding with a pencil when the tape jammed. On weekends, block parties spilled onto the street. Folding tables groaned under bowls of potato salad, and the air filled with the crackle of a portable radio tuned to the local station. People danced, swayed, and called out greetings as dusk settled. Commerce and celebration blended, each exchange, coins, stories, music, a smile, woven into the fabric of daily life. The soundscape was public, tactile, and shared. Every moment a reminder of community stitched together by simple acts. The world inside each home began to change, year by year, as new devices found their place on kitchen walls and hallway tables. In the early 1960s, touch-tone phones arrived, their buttons promising speed and ease, though many families held on to their rotary dials a while longer. By the 1980s, cordless phones untethered conversations from the wall, letting people wander from room to room, handset in hand, searching for privacy or sunlight. Not long after, beepers and pagers clipped onto belts, first for doctors and business people, then for teenagers hoping for a coded message from a friend. The late 1980s brought the first mobile phones, heavy, boxy, and reserved for those who could afford the luxury or needed to be reached at all hours. In the 1990s, cell phones shrank and multiplied, showing up in purses and glove compartments. Then, in the 2000s, the smartphone quietly swept across the country, folding the world into a single glowing screen. On one corner, a payphone stood silent, coins gathering dust, while just steps away, someone scrolled through messages, the past and present sharing the same sidewalk. Plans used to hang on the fridge for days, birthday parties penciled in, Sunday drives mapped out, dinner at 6 sharp. Now a single message could change everything in an instant. The rhythm of the household shifted, quiet routines replaced by a steady stream of alerts and updates. Family calendars, once filled with handwritten notes, gave way to digital reminders that blinked and buzzed from pockets and purses. The kitchen table, once scattered with lists and Polaroids, now saw moments captured and shared before the meal was even finished. A grandchild's first steps, a neighbor's new puppy. These snapshots traveled across the country in seconds, not weeks. But as the pace quickened, something softer faded. Waiting together for news, planning each detail, the slow build of anticipation. These rituals grew rare. Conversations paused for a screen's glow, and the space between moments seemed to shrink. The world felt closer, but the hush of waiting, the joy of arrival, grew quieter by the year. In 1980, over 90% of American homes had a single fixed telephone, most often mounted to the kitchen wall. Families planned calls, wrote messages by hand, and navigated daily life with AAA triptychs and paper maps. These routines shaped neighborhood ties and fostered shared moments, from family TV nights to handwritten grocery lists. Yet some details, like the full impact of switchboard operators' disappearance on rural communities, remain less documented because personal records and local archives are incomplete. What is clear is this: the arrival of cordless phones, pagers, and finally smartphones in 2007 dramatically shifted communication from anticipation to instant response. Today, nearly all Americans carry mobile devices, changing how we connect and remember. The physical anchors, rotary dials, handwritten notes, coin calls, have faded, but their influence on family and community endures in the memories and archives we preserve. The story of life before smartphones is not just about lost objects. It is about the rhythms and connections that shaped an era.